So the first round of Road to UFC 2023 has wrapped up, and on Wikipedia we have the tournament brackets there for each individual weight class. But if you haven't seen the episodes, if you haven't seen the fights, and you do want to watch the fights, you can watch them back on UFC Fight Pass. Now, obviously, the first round of the tournament has finished, and now the semi-finals are going to happen. I have a strong feeling the semi-finals are going to take place either on this card or the day before or after this card, or maybe just sometime during the week that this card is on, because this card is rumored to be on Singapore. I have seen multiple different sources saying that this card will be in Singapore. It also does happen to be the debut of Rinya Nakamura, and I'm gonna make a separate video about Rinya Nakamura because he is so good, man. But anyway, aside from that, we have got a couple of sources. I've seen a source here, Ayla Mayonnaise, saying it's rumored to be in Singapore. I've seen other sources say it's rumored to be in Singapore. I think it's going to be on this card, these semi-finals, or the day before or after the card. But aside from that as well, the semi-finals are actually quite important to win, because the finalists, win or lose, get offered UFC contracts. Not only does the winner of the finals get a contract, the loser also gets offered a contract as well. Obviously, the winner's contract is more money. The winner's contract is more money, and also more fights on the contract than the loser's contract. I believe it's just like your standard Dana White's Contender Series winner sort of contract. But that's kind of what we're talking about here. We're talking about UFC opportunities from the semi-finals, and the first one is going to be in the flyweights. Ray Saruya taking on Mark Clamaco. Now, Ray Saruya impressed me so much in his fight on Road to UFC. Absolutely dominated Ronald Siahan, was just absolutely relentless with the wrestling and the grappling. And Mark Clamaco, he did get by Jung Hyun Lee. 30-27 times 3 was the scorecards, but personally, I didn't really know if I would actually give him 30-27. I think 29-28. I thought Jung Hyun Lee at least won one of those rounds, and it was a close fight against Jung Hyun Lee, who was a good fighter. But man, I was so much more impressed with Ray Saruya, to the point where when I was live streaming and broadcasting this event, wasn't broadcasting the event, I was live during the event, I said I'm going to pick Ray Saruya to beat Mark Clamaco. And I'm going to pick Ray Saruya to beat Mark Clamaco. I think this guy can win the whole thing. He's only 20 years old. He's absolutely insanely good. Talented grappler. I think he takes down Clamaco, and I think he beats him, man. He's just so good. I couldn't believe his performance. It was incredible. The next one is going to be the semi-final between Ji Shi and Seung-Guk Choi. This one's a lot more difficult to predict. The flyweight bracket's actually really strong this year. Jinhee Ishii impressed me a lot, actually. He'd finished Billy Pasilatan in 3 minutes, absolutely dominated the fight, finished it in 3 minutes. Very impressive win for him. But Seung-Guk Choi, he did beat Sumit Kamara, and it wasn't that impressive of a performance, I'm going to be honest with you. Seung-Guk Choi didn't actually look that good against Sumit Kamara, especially considering the fact that Sumit Kamara, his striking was pretty bad, his wrestling was pretty good, but aside from that, he kind of had nothing. And Seung-Guk Choi kind of just barely scraped by Sumit Kamara. So it kind of does open a lot of opportunity to potentially pick Jinhee Ishii. But I'm actually going to slide with Seung-Guk Choi still. I think Seung-Guk Choi was just so surprised with what Sumit Kamara was kind of doing. But I am surprised that Seung-Guk Choi wasn't able to capitalize on a lot of opportunities that he got in his last fight. But I do think Seung-Guk Choi wins the semis and comes back into the finals again. Now, the bantamweight, this is interesting, and I do apologize because I sold wolf tickets on Shuya Kamakubo. Shuya Kamakubo was not as good as I thought he was, unfortunately. He did win his fight by split decision, but dude, he only has one thing, man. He's got to take his opponents down. He's desperately trying to take people down. I think he shot like 25 takedowns against Bayerging Gialisi and got like 1 or 2 of them, which is just very concerning, not really something that you like to see from Shuya Kamakubo. But when he did get the fight to the ground, he was dominant. And he's going to be fighting Long Zhao, who also fought to a split decision against Shohei Noze, and ended up in a couple of weird positions there. But I'm going to pick Shuya Kamakubo. I still believe in Shuya Kamakubo, man. A lot of people on my stream, when I was doing the quarterfinals, were saying Long Zhao's going to beat Shuya Kamakubo. I'm going to stay with the Shuya Kamakubo train. I do think he's going to be able to get it done. I do think he can beat Long Zhao in this fight, dude. Just Shuya Kamakubo, when he got the fight to the ground, it was so good, and he showed incredible cardio to just constantly shoot for takedowns over and over and over and over again and keep going. So is that a good thing? Not necessarily, but I do think it should be enough to beat Long Zhao. So I'm going to go with Shuya Kamakubo in this matchup. Now, Dayomisi Zawupasi just looked really good. He literally is, I'm going to be honest, he's like the Chinese Khabib. He really is. He finished Ipariam Ginting in a minute, which is unreal. And on top of that as well, he had a really good post-fight speech. Like, he seems very marketable, seemed like a very fun guy, kind of sounded like Khabib in a way, I'm going to be honest. And Chang Ho Lee also dominated his fight. He dominated Rana Rajra Pratap Singh, which is cool. But Rana Rajra Pratap Singh just, he's not that good, man. Like, Chang Ho Lee dominated the fight. But Rana Rajra Pratap Singh just didn't show up, man. Just didn't look good at all. I think Dayomisi Zawupasi, honestly, you're probably just going to do the exact same thing he did to Ipiram Ginting to Chang Ho Lee. I think he's going to sub him in the first round. So give me Dayomisi Zawupasi to win this fight. And I think that the finals, if it is Zawupasi versus Shuya Kamakubo, like I'm expecting it to be, would be very, very interesting. Now, the next one is going to be Yi Jia taking on Sang Won Kim in the featherweight tournament bracket. I think this one's a little bit it's pretty easy to pick. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Yi Jia really should be able to beat Sang Won Kim in this matchup here. Now, Yi Jia was a massive favorite of Wujibiki Jiaheifu, and it was interesting, to be honest. Wujibiki was able to take down Yi Jia and was winning the fight, and then Yi Jia just threw up an armbar out of nowhere and subbed him, and it was a really impressive win. Obviously, it was something that he was planning on doing, but Sang Won Kim as well got a big win as an underdog. He knocked out my boy, man. He knocked out one of my favorite fighters that's not signed to the UFC, Keisuke Sasu. If you guys don't know, I really like Keisuke Sasu, and he got knocked out by Sang Won Kim as a big underdog. Now, with that being said, I really do think Jia Yi should be able to get past Sang Won Kim. He took on Wujibiki Jiaheifu, who was a short notice opponent, beat him pretty easily. Now he's got Sang Won Kim, who wasn't actually expected to win that fight. And I think Jia Yi's kind of got an easy route into the finals. Now, once he gets into the finals, he's going to have to fight the winner of Koya Kanda versus Kai Wen Lee. And I'm telling you, man, Kai Wen Lee's going to win this whole thing. And not only is he going to win the whole thing, he's going to become a superstar for the UFC from China. He's going to be like the star of the tournament. Just the way that this guy acts, there's so many little like things about him as well that is so interesting. If you look at his tattoos closely, he's got a very interesting background, but anyway, I'll kind of leave that out of it. Koya Kanda, I think he's going to get knocked out by Lee Kai Wen in the next featherweight semi-final, man. Lee Kai Wen knocked out Lu Kai kind of easily in a minute, and not only was it easily, it was just absolutely dominant. Throwing hooks, it was so fun. Lee Kai Wen as well on the mic, he speaks English as well. And he's just a very marketable guy. He's got tattoos all over his body. He's got some very interesting tattoos on his body. And yeah, he speaks English as well. Very, very marketable. And he's got a cool personality. Now, Koya Kanda, very impressive win, I will say, over Yibu Jali. But it was a really boring fight. And it was kind of terrible. And I think Lee Kai Wen's just going to rush in there. And I think he's just going to rush in there and knock him out. So I am going to go with Lee Kai Wen to beat Koya Kanda in the semi-finals. Now we move on to the lightweights. Kind of another one that I think is going to get a pretty easy route into the tournament. I think Zhu Rong is going to beat Sang Uk Kim. And not only is he going to beat Sang Uk Kim, I think he knocks him out as well. Zhu Rong, I'm going to be honest with you guys. He has made some absolutely rapid improvements. Like unbelievably rapid improvements since he first had his UFC run. If you don't know, Zhu Rong has been in the UFC before. He lost to Rodrigo Vargas in a fight which he just had really bad fight IQ. Just didn't do anything, you know what I mean, like at all. And then he beat Brandon Jenkins, but Brandon Jenkins is Brandon Jenkins, and he took him on short notice. Ignacio Bahamondes beat him up, and then he didn't look that good on his UAE Warriors fight, against Felipe Maia. He didn't look that impressive at all. And then he come out here against Sung Chang Hong, showed good takedown defense, and then just showed really good striking. If you do watch the fight, Sung Chang Hong did not see this punch coming at all, because the way that Zhu Rong set it up, he kind of he moved to the point where he was behind Sung Chang Hong and threw that right hook, and Sung Chang Hong was kind of looking here, and the hook come out of nowhere. He didn't see it and just knocked him out. Very, very impressive win for Zhu Rong. Looked so much better. He looked so much better than he has in the past, especially in the UFC, especially in that UAE Warriors fight as well. I think he does beat Sang Uk Kim. Now, Sang Uk Kim, first round finish over Kazuma Maruyama, but as I kind of said, Kazuma Maruyama, not really that great. And the problem with saying with Kim as well, man, this guy just has not fought good opponents throughout his whole career, like at all. I think he gets knocked out by Zhu Rong. I think Zhu Rong finds himself in the UFC again. I think UFC, win or lose, will sign Zhu Rong. It's the way that he looks. You know, maybe he could potentially be another star for the UFC from China. But speaking of stars, man, and speaking of Japanese stars, I think Shin Haraguchi could also be one of those stars. This guy's kind of like Rinya Nakamura, where he's got an insane freestyle wrestling background. We're talking about a multiple-time Japanese wrestling champion, freestyle wrestling champion, and then on top of that as well, he's won like international tournaments as well in freestyle wrestling. I believe he won like some sort of Asian games in freestyle wrestling. Someone might have to correct me on that, but Shin Haraguchi is good, man. He is really good, and he showed how good he was against Windry Patilima. Now, did he finish him in the first round? No, but he absolutely dominated him. 10-8 round in the first round, most likely. And he showed really, really good skills. Like, the way that he took down Windry Patilima, and then the way that he controlled him, like, it's hard to explain. Like, for me personally, I've never actually wrestled before. I mean, like, I've done a bit of striking in my life. I've never done any wrestling. The way that he was able to control him, I could see from like an inexperienced eyes that this guy has incredible wrestling. And the way that he was able to take down Windry Patilima and then trap Windry's like legs, sorry, to the point where Windry couldn't do anything. Very, very good wrestler. Very high level fighter, Shin Haraguchi. He is too small for lightweight, though. That's my only problem with him. But he's going to have absolutely no problems whatsoever getting through Boli Batubolaty. I told you guys that Boli Batubolaty was not very good. And he proved it. You know, he got knocked out by Wonbin Ki. And Mark Goddard decided that he's got a bit of main character syndrome. And decided to disqualify Wonbin Ki. I might actually have to make a video about this separately. Like, Mark Goddard, throughout this whole road to UFC experience, was the worst referee I think I've ever seen. He would separate fighters and then talk to them as if, like, they could even understand what he was saying to start with. He almost cost Long Zhao the fight. Because in the first round, I don't know if you guys ever saw the fight, but in the first round, Long Zhao was, like, in a really awkward position. And Mark Goddard just stepped in, and told them something. Albeit, it's worth noting as well, these guys can't speak English. These guys have no idea what Mark Goddard said, and he says fight. And then as soon as he says fight, Long Zhao gets put in like this brutal leg lock position where he has to spend about a minute and a half to 2 minutes just escaping, and probably lost the round because of Mark Goddard's stupidity. So anyway, that's a big side round. I'm going to have to make a video on this. Yeah, just major main character syndrome from Mark Goddard cost Wonbin Ki the fight. It should be Wonbin Ki fighting Shin Haraguchi, but because Mark Goddard, as I said, has got serious main character syndrome, now Batubolaty is going to be fighting Shin Haraguchi, and it's not going to be competitive. Batubolaty, I told you guys he's not very good, and it's going to get proven again by Shin Haraguchi just absolutely dominating him. So, let me know what you think in the comments about all of these fights. Let me know what you think, who's going to win and all that sort of thing. And I will see you guys in the next one. And I'll probably will make a video about Mark Goddard because, dude, he's just absolutely insane. Honestly, I've completely forgot about that until I started making this video. It's just a really good video idea. I can just flame Mark Goddard. I'll see you guys in the next one.